from the Mercy One studio. Man Up, brought to you by Construction Professionals, a program dedicated to inspiring and helping men live lives of heroic virtue. Join Joe Stopulos every Monday at 9 a.m. and 9 p.m. on Iowa Catholic Radio. And now, it's time to Man Up.
Welcome to Man Up on Iowa Catholic Radio. We are broadcasting today from the Mercy One studio, heard on 1150 AM, 88.5 FM, and 94.5 FM around the globe, streaming online at iowacatholicradio.com and on the Iowa Catholic Radio app. Please subscribe to our podcast on iTunes, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter. I am Joe Stopulos. Today we will be concluding the talk I gave at the 2020 Iowa Catholic Men's Conference, Part 3, and it will be on all of the things we need. It'll wrap up the conversation, all the things we need to live out this life, what we're called to as virtuous men. Specifically, in my mind, one of the most important things, which is that band of brothers, fostering virtuous friendships. Let's start in prayer. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Saint Michael the Archangel, defend us in battle, be our protection against the wickedness and the snares of the devil. May God rebuke him, we humbly pray, and do thou, O Prince of the heavenly host, by the power of God, cast into hell Satan and all the evil spirits, who prowl about the world seeking the ruin of souls. Amen. Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. So on Part 3, as I just mentioned, we will be talking about what I think is very important, is the band of brothers, is the Christian friendships, authentic Christian friendships. I've just seen all this happen in my own life, and quite frankly, this whole talk, if you stuck with us, the reason that I would say I speak boldly on it, but the reason I can speak, again, I'm not a theologian. You don't hear a whole lot of philosophy or theology in my talk. It's mostly personal experience. I'm confident when I speak on personal experience because you can't take it away from me. I've lived it. I know what it's like. And so when I talk about overcoming sin, when I talk about screwing up, when I talk about getting back on my feet, it's things I've lived. It's a life I've lived. I can speak to those things because they've happened to me because I've experienced them. I know from experience. And today's talk, the part of this talk is with the authentic Christian friendships. It's something I've absolutely experienced in spades. When I started proactively making my friend groups guys who were going to push me to be better, I sought them out. I've seen what a difference it can make in my life. It's been said that you are the average of the 5 closest friends you have. I wish I would have mentioned it in the talk, but you've maybe heard me say it on the show before, but I can't disagree with that in any way, shape, or form. I truly believe that if you're surrounded by guys who are cheating on their wives and guys who are out drinking and gambling every night, chances are some of that's going to rub off on you. I'm not saying you're going to necessarily go to that extreme, but it's definitely going to rub off on you in some way, shape, or form. On the contrary to that, if you're hanging out with guys who are praying every day, who are working out every day, who are in moderation in the way they dress and the way they eat and the way they drink and all those things, and they're good family men, chances are it's going to rub off on you as well, and you'll become a better man. I really think this is one of the most important pieces to living a good Christian life, is to surround yourself, to seek out other men who are in this fight. So we're going to head to a short break. When we do, when we return, you'll be hearing Part 3 of my talk at the 2020 Iowa Catholic Men's Conference, specifically on authentic Christian friendships.
Thank you, Construction Professionals, for underwriting Man Up. Construction Professionals have been long supporters of Iowa Catholic Radio, and we've seen their work firsthand. It's very impressive. They do remodeling or new construction that is innovative, functional, and designing what you want. cpcustomhomes.com.
Support for Iowa Catholic Radio and John Leonetti in the morning is provided by Five Sons Naturescapes. Five Sons Naturescapes is a Catholic veteran-owned family company providing premium outdoor landscaping, clean up and restore outdoor living space with retaining walls, privacy fencing, pergolas, paver sidewalks, and patios. Issues with soil settling and water around the foundation and yard? Five Sons Naturescapes can grade and install drainage tile to help. Five Sons Naturescapes online at fivesonsnaturescapes.com.
Thank you to Confluence Brewing Company for underwriting Christ is the Answer with Father Ricardo, heard Monday through Friday at 11 a.m. Confluence Brewing Company is a local brewery in Des Moines featuring seasonal and limited release beers. They have cans and growlers to go, apparel, and other gifts for family and friends. Live music is featured in the tap room. Confluence Brewing Company is located off the bike trail south of Grays Lake. Thank you to Confluence Brewing Company for your support of Iowa Catholic Radio on the web at confluencebrewing.com. That's confluencebrewing.com.
My help comes from you. You're right here putting.
All right, reconciliation. I'll tell some personal stories on reconciliation. I stayed away from the sacrament for probably a good 5 years during college, and as you may imagine, those are pretty juicy years that maybe I should have been going to confession for, I imagine. So confession was not always a regular part of my life. It just wasn't. It wasn't something I was necessarily comfortable with. And Father Zakowski, many of you guys may know my good friend Father Zakowski, he challenged me when we were friends to make a lifelong confession. Says, all right, you missed a good chunk of years there and you've been pretty irregular. Why don't you go to adoration, spend an hour in adoration, and write down every single sin you can ever imagine committing, just in case. So when you go to the confessional, think of it like a shower of God's grace, right? So the shower faucet's coming on. Imagine you've broken your hand, you got a cast over it, and you got your cast outside. Whatever the water hits gets you clean in the shower, right? But you left this out. The shower is God's grace. If you leave stuff out, you're not receiving the grace you need. So Father Zach told me to make a lifelong confession. I did. It was the greatest feeling I think I've ever had in my entire life was walking out of the confession. I mean, like, I jumped. I couldn't actually jump 10 feet high, but I sure felt like I did. After that, I've made a monthly confession basically every month since. The habit of monthly confession. And I've needed it. So I know a lot of you guys here today have probably stayed away from the sacrament as long or longer than I did. And honestly, since I started going, the hardest part for me to go is when I don't feel worthy of going. So I've had times where I felt completely unforgivable. I know how if I were father, and my son continued to do the same thing to me over and over and over and over again, I'd probably stop forgiving him. If my son continued to hit me in the face over and over again, spit in my face over and over again, and turn his back to me over and over again, I would probably run out of mercy. We are lucky that our Father does not do that. I know what it's like to be stuck in a cycle of sin. I know what it's like to be stuck in a cycle of pornography. I know what it's like to be stuck in a cycle of drinking too much. I know what it's like to be stuck in a cycle of anger. I know what it's like to feel that God cannot reach, that God's mercy won't touch me. Because when you're in those cycles, you feel that I would not forgive myself if I was God. I wouldn't do that. I'm not deserving of it. So I have to, in those moments, turn to the prodigal son, one of my favorite stories in the Bible. The prodigal son looks to his father and says, Dad, give me the share of the inheritance that I wish that's coming to me. Translation, I wish you were dead. Looks at his father and says, I wish you were dead. Give me the money that is coming to me now. So he does that. Father gives him the money. He squanders it, not on bad investments or anything, but on prostitution, on living a life of sin. After that, he finds himself below the swine. So swine are unclean animals. They are below anything else in Jewish society. You can't even touch the unclean animals. He is below them and wants to eat the food that they have. This guy has blown it worse than anyone in the history of the world. You're having an affair? This guy's got it worse. You're addicted to pornography? This guy's got it worse. You're addicted to alcohol? This guy's got it worse. He's done it worse. God put this guy there. He put the prodigal son where we're at because he wanted to give us an example. He put him all the way down as low as he can go. Then what happens? The prodigal son decides to turn towards the father. I can go to the father. Makes his way back to the father. The father, and this is the part that stuck in my head. The father sees him off in the distance and runs to the son. Why is that important? Jewish men of dignity and respect did not run. The only people who ran were slaves and children.
For a Jewish man to run was against all social norms at the time. Our Father runs to us. He doesn't care what other people think. He sprints. He sees you off from the distance. He's a sprint to you. In those confessionals, he is sprinting to you. Then what's he do? He brings him in. He throws him a party. He puts shoes on his feet. Why is that important? Putting shoes, you would not put shoes on the feet of someone you think would run away. They did not put shoes on the slave's feet because they didn't want him running away. The Father is saying, here are shoes. You are free to move as you please. If you run away again, that's fine. You are in the house. That is the mercy our Father has for us. I know what it's like. I know what it's like to not believe I am deserving of God's mercy, and I turn to that story and I sprint back to the confessional. This is our call to take back whatever is controlling us in our lives. Whether it's pornography, whether it's pride, spiritual sloth, alcohol, drugs, lust, whatever those things are, we need to take control of them now. Lent is a really good time to start doing that. I do want to get specific on one thing. Some people in this room can get over the sins cycles that they're in through prayer, fasting, confession. I know many people who have done it. There are people in this room where that won't be enough. You do need to see a clinician. You need to go to AA. You need to see a pornography rehab specialist. You need to go to sexual addiction counseling. These are real things that need to happen. We need to take our sin seriously. Think about that as you're going through, when you're thinking in your mind, what is keeping me? What cycle of sin am I in? Understand that the options are not just you and God, that there are other options out there professionally that you might need to seek. In your pamphlet, there are some of the there's the name of a therapist buddy of mine who is in Des Moines who can help for a lot of this stuff as well. So what are the action steps? First off, figure out what is controlling you, what is keeping you from God, and attack it. Schedule your sacraments. Go to Mass every Sunday, never miss it. Go to Mass more than once a week. If you're going every Sunday, go an extra time a week. Schedule it at the beginning of the month, on the first day of the month, schedule monthly confession and monthly adoration. My men's group, we meet every month, the same day of the month, and we go to confession together, and then we celebrate with lunch. Figure out when the monthly adoration time, the monthly confession time can be. And lastly, go home and pray with your wife. Nothing you can do better to help your marriage than to pray with your wife. All right. Sacraments. So what is our mission? Having the sacraments help us. Lastly, rediscovering authentic Christian friendships. So there's an author who writes, he's got a lot of really, really good books. One of them is Bowling Alone. Robert Putnam is his name. And Robert Putnam in Bowling Alone talks about how the decline in social capital in America specifically. Alexander de Tocqueville, talked about how America was built on these close friendships, these close communities. And that's why America was so successful. But now as we've fragmented out, the decline in those friendships has created more problems than we can imagine in the United States. So the average American person, male and female, used to have, on average, 4.5 true, actual friends, like real friends. That is down to 2, and 25% of people have 0 friends. True, authentic friendships. So this is crazy. Having friends over in the last 20 years has declined 35%. Prior to that, it had dropped 50% since 1960. We're not socializing. We are staying in our houses behind computers and looking at screens and not socializing. Aristotle said, and I think this is great, who would live without friends even if they had every other thing? Who would live without friends even if they had every other thing? Aristotle also talks about 2 different kinds of friendships. There's friendships of virtue, and there's friendships of convenience. Friendships of convenience are the guy you go to work with, neighbor who lives down the street, ball game, stuff with kids. Those friendships of convenience. Friendships of virtue take time, they take energy, they take work. It's people building each other up in virtue, challenging each other. Those are the friendships that we need. Living the Christian life is hard. Being a good husband is difficult. Being a good father is difficult. Living a chaste life is tough. Having the virtues, having the habit of virtues, prudence, justice, temperance, fortitude, having those is difficult. It's more difficult today than ever before because of all the things I mentioned. We need more than ever to have authentic Christian friendships, people that'll push us to be great. So, we got time. All right, so, quick story about my men's group. My men's group was formed, in theory, 4 years ago this Tuesday, Fat Tuesday. Father Zach called, so John Leonetti had already talked me into doing cold showers for Lent. All right, so it's the day before Lent, what are we doing for Lent? I on the radio, gotten coaxed into doing cold showers against my will, but I did it. So I said, okay. So I talk about drinking. Guys, I had not taken a weekend off of drinking since I was like 15 or 16. And that's not a joke, it's not sarcastic. At this point, I was drinking after work 6 nights a week. The idea of taking 45 or 90 days off of drinking was literally insanity to me. Father Zach calls me up. We'd interviewed this guy from Exodus 90 on the radio, and he says, Joe, we're doing Exodus 90. I said, no, we're not. We're not doing Exodus 90. He goes, we're doing an Exodus 90. I bought the package. We're doing Exodus 90. I go, Father, I don't know how else to tell you this nicely. I'm not doing Exodus 90. So for those of you who don't know, Exodus 90 is cold showers every day, no drinking, no sweets, no TV, no internet, basically, no social media, full fasting on Wednesdays and Fridays. It's a lot. I mean, it's just a lot. But especially for me, no sports, no televised sports. So it's just, it was so absurd to me. I'm like, I'm not doing it. Not a chance. Again, the idea of just alcohol and sports alone were... Luckily for Father Zach, I had spent an evening at Toppling Goliath Brewery the night before, and 90 days without drinking sounded pretty awesome at that point. So I had a 3.5-hour car ride from Decorah with a migraine, a splitting headache, and about hour 3, I call Father Zach. I was saying, I think I'm ready. If there ever was a time, it's now. So we shoot an email off to a couple buddies trying to get more people to join us for this crazy thing, because if we're going down on a ship, they're coming with us. As anyone who's done Exodus 90 knows, it's a lot more fun with other people taking cold showers. So we shoot an email off. And with literally 3 hours, I mean, this is Tuesday afternoon now. With 3 hours of heads up, we had 4 guys say, I'm in for all that crazy stuff. All right, so that started our men's group. So guys, again, that was Tuesday afternoon. You guys got 3 days to find a men's group. We only had 3 hours. That men's group has met every Tuesday at 6:30 a.m. for the last 4 years. That men's group means the world to me. That men's group, we meet every Tuesday at 6:30, and we push each other to be better husbands, better fathers, better employees, better men. We hold each other up when we're down. We celebrate each other's accomplishments. We celebrate births. We mourn deaths. Most importantly, we push each other in virtue. Iron sharpens iron. You cannot do this alone. It is impossible to do this alone. You need good men. You need good men to help you along the way. So what I'm going to challenge you guys to do is, if you're not in a men's group today, if you don't have other men you're doing this with, I challenge you to start a men's group. Exodus 90, I'm not kidding. Back to the Matt Campbell thing. You guys think I'm not a Cyclone fan at the end of this deal. He talks about difficult times bonds guys together. Talk about in the football field. The hard things they go through, that's what bonded them together. Exodus 90 is a great way to do that. Do something difficult together. Do something difficult in spiritual battle with brothers, and you'll grow closer together. I can tell you, we would not still be doing our men's group. And by the way, this is our 4th Exodus in a row. We're going to spend an entire year in Exodus, which is insane. But the reason we do it is because it's good. And it's grown our group together, and we're a tighter knit group than we've ever been before because of that. So start a men's group. Find other guys. Do something for Lent. Meet every week. Push each other. But not just for Lent. You need to do it every week of the year. So we are going to send you, we have a lot of email addresses. We're going to send you guys an email. We're trying to start a men's movement in Des Moines. In Milwaukee, Wisconsin, I was at their conference last year. 3,500 men. We had about 700 today, which is awesome. So thank you guys for 700 men. That's awesome. They had 3,500. They have 2,500 guys meeting every single week. 2,500 men meeting in 50 different parishes every week. That's what we need to grow to. We're going to shoot an email off. We want responses. We're looking for leaders. We're looking for other people to help us grow this ministry. We need it. We need this ministry in Des Moines. So we need, for this Lent, I want to encourage you guys to find a group to push each other with. Another stat I didn't mention earlier, but I'd be remiss if I didn't. The only leisure activity that is corresponding with a decline in happiness that the more you do it, the less happy you are, is television. Every other thing out there, if you're playing sports, whatever it is, increase social capital. Television is the only one out there that if you watch, the more of it you watch, the more depressed you get. Fact. This is a fact. Turn off your TV. Throw your TV away. Just throw it away. So turn off the TV and take up fasting. Again, we're doing this during Lent for a reason. We're doing this right before Lent because we really want you guys to take up that mantle of fasting. All right. So what's your mission? Pray about it. Had the Lord talk to you about what He is calling you to do. Secondly, embrace the sacraments. Thirdly, find friends. Find authentic Christian friendships to help you push in that. I'm going to show a short clip. This is my favorite Lenten movie, Saving Private Ryan. It's a good Catholic Lenten movie. So for those of you who have not seen Saving Private Ryan, we're just going to show the opening scene. We're just going to show the opening. I'm kidding. We're not going to show the opening scene. So Captain Miller is played by Tom Hanks. So Captain Miller has been assigned to basically go get Private Ryan. Private Ryan had 3 brothers who had all died in the war. He was the last one. And so the War Department was trying to find a way to save Private Ryan, to get him out of harm's way and bring him back home. What I want you to see in this clip as we enter Lent, as we approach Easter, is the response of Captain Miller. Captain Miller, to me, represents what Jesus is like on the cross. He has gone all the way into hell to save one person. Earn this. Come Ash Wednesday, come Good Friday. Jesus is going to look at each of you and say, earn this. What are we doing in our lives to earn what He's going to do, what He did for us? As I said earlier, the only sadness in life is to not become a saint. The great St. Thomas Aquinas, when asked, how does one become a saint? He responded with 2 words. Those are our 2 words that we're going to leave here today with. St. Thomas Aquinas, when asked, how does one become a saint? He said, will it. Gentlemen, let's will it. Thank you.
What is the best gift ever? Giving a Catholic education is at the top of my list. Your contribution to CTO helps families send their children to our Catholic schools who otherwise could not afford it. In giving to CTO, you receive the best tax credits ever. Pledge or donate online at ctoiowa.org. The bottom line, it's for the kids and their future.
Support for Iowa Catholic Radio and Faith on Trial provided by Paul Martin and Paul Mitchell, owners of Imogene Ingredients. Imogene Ingredients supply specialized feed ingredients for livestock and pet diets to improve maternal and young animal health in both conventional and organic production. Information about Pharmatan and other products at ImogeneIngredients.com. Paul and Paul are members of St. Augustine's Knights of Columbus and encourage their brother knights to keep standing for their faith.
My help comes from you. You're right here putting.
Welcome back to Man Up on Iowa Catholic Radio. That concludes the talk. You're probably sick of hearing me pontificate. So it's all done. It's all behind us now. If you want to listen to them again or you missed an episode, go on to the podcast. And it's all on the Man Up podcast. And if you want to hear the whole thing without the breaks in it, you can go to the Iowa Catholic Radio podcast. They put it back together in February. And Matt Campbell's is on there as well. So if you want to hear Matt Campbell's talk, you can get that there too. It is Holy Week, and I would be remiss if I didn't talk a little bit about Holy Week. Every year, if you've listened to the show, this is, I don't know, the 5th year, and it's getting repetitive, which is fine. It's a good thing, I think, quite frankly. I listen to Father John Riccardo's episodes that I've heard 20 times because I think I get something out of them. So you're going to hear me talk about the same thing every year, which is take this opportunity seriously. Take the liturgical calendar, which sets the beauty of the Easter Triduum in our hands. Take full advantage of it. Make sure you're going to that Holy Thursday Mass, that Last Supper Mass, the washing of the feet. Good Friday. Make sure you're going there. Make sure, whether it's Stations of the Cross, whether you have a service, whatever those things are, go to Good Friday service. And then Easter, if you can make it to the Vigil, the Easter Vigil is one of the greatest Masses you can go to. It's just so beautiful. It's so well done. These are life-changing opportunities. I know it's tough with small kids. Listen, I get it. We go back and forth in the Easter Vigil. I think we're probably 50% on Easter Vigil. I don't know if we make it to all of them or not, but depends on if we have people coming into the church or if we're with family and the family's going in the morning or whatnot. But even if you bring your kids to Easter Vigil, it's still worth it. I mean, it's such a great Mass. It's one of the highlights, quite frankly, of the Church of the year. Regardless of how we do it, take it seriously. Make sure you're going to all the services. And then really make it a prayerful week. Start today. It's Monday. Set aside extra time than usual, than you normally would, to enter into the Paschal Mystery. And I've said this before. One of my traditions has become, over the last probably 7 years, I don't know how long I've been doing it, I'll go to adoration on Holy Thursday, and I will spend it just on the Gospel of John. I think John 13 is when the Passover account starts. It's like another 5-6 chapters from there. And I'll just pray through those. And it's just so edifying. It's really helped me to experience Holy Thursday that much more. And then lastly, I last year, my men's group, a handful of us, fasted from Holy Thursday Mass. So we had Holy Thursday Eucharist, and then we didn't eat again until Eucharist at Easter Vigil. So it's about 50 hours or something like that. But it was wonderful. Again, it sounds crazy, I think, to some people who haven't fasted like that before, but it really helped me and the other guys who did it to enter into Christ's death, passion, resurrection in a way I had just never experienced it before. So take it seriously. Think about it. Today's Monday. What can you do this week to help you enter into that? Jesus died for us. He asked us to enter into it with him. And I hope that you do that this week. Thank you for joining us today on Iowa Catholic Radio. I am Joe Stopulos. It is time to man up.
Man Up, inspiring men to live out their call to holiness with Joe Stopulos. Heard Mondays at 9 a.m. and 9 p.m. on Iowa Catholic Radio. Brought to you by Construction Professionals.